Joining us now for War Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adufemi Ijebu girl Akinsanya. Good morning.
That's me. Good morning, Dr. Ruben. Egba uncle, how are you? That's us, as always.
No, this will be powerful. I'm not here for
it's
that.
Too much. It's too much for Ayo.
I feel intimidated.
No. You know we love Lagos.
No.
We are part of Lagos.
This is it. This is it. Or rather, Lagos is
No
the
mention of
power
Ijebu on this table.
Good morning to you, Ayo.
To Lagos.
Correct. And the gateway to the rest of Nigeria, if you think about it.
Nigeria.
Good morning to you all and good morning to you viewers. Let me tell you what's happening around the world. Very soon we'll start introducing this in Ijebu as well. We'll see how that goes. All right, so let me tell you what's happening around the world. Now, conservative activist and ally of US President Donald Trump, a gentleman by the name of Charlie Kirk, was shot and killed at a university event in an attack the Utah state governor has called a political assassination. Now, video shows Kirk speaking to a crowd of about 3,000 people on the campus of the Utah Valley University, which was his first stop on his American comeback tour. Ironically, he was answering a question about gun violence when a single shot rang out and students ran in several directions to safety. The bullet hit Kirk in the left side of his neck, and he was seen using his hand to stop the gushing flow of blood before being rushed to a hospital where he later died from his injuries. No suspect is in custody in relation to the shooting, despite earlier arrests of 2 people. Now, police do continue to investigate, but we do know that ahead of the event, there was an online petition calling for the university administrations to bar Kirk from appearing, which received nearly 1,000 signatures. The university issued a statement last week citing the First Amendment rights and affirmed its commitment to free speech. Now, Kirk, 31 years old, is survived by his wife and 2 young children, ages 3 and 1. US President Donald Trump announced Kirk's death on social media, calling him a martyr for truth and freedom. He has ordered flags to be flown at half-mast at the White House and other institutions across America. Now, Ghana has started accepting West African nationals deported from the United States. Now, Ghanaian President John Mahama announced the decision amidst President Trump's strict immigration policies. Ghana now joins Rwanda, who previously received deportees under similar circumstances. Now, Mahama cited travel flexibility for West Africans as rationale for this acceptance. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
We agreed with them that West African nationals were acceptable because all our fellow West Africans don't need a visa to come to our country. So if they decided to travel from US to Accra, they don't need a visa anyway. So if you're bringing our colleague West Africans back, that's okay. And so I think that agreement has been activated, and a first batch of 14 nationals came. Several of them were our Nigerian brothers. They opted to go back home, and so we put them on buses, to be able to go back.
Well, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu spent his Wednesday afternoon in a working lunch with French President Emmanuel Macron at the Élysée Palace in Paris as his 10-day working leave entered its 5th day. Now, pictures released by State House Media Office showed Tinubu and Macron in a warm handshake as the latter president received President Tinubu at the Élysée Palace. The 2 leaders met amid the political tension in France, where nationwide unrest has broken out across the country on Wednesday. And that also follows the selection of Sébastien Lecornu as Prime Minister. Now, protesters blocked roads, they set fires and clashed with police, who responded with tear gas. That's as anger grew against the country's political class. Now, those are your stories from around the world. I'd love to hear your thoughts before we move on to the papers.
Okay, so I disagree with most of the things Charlie Kirk said while he was alive. But I feel those that killed Charlie Kirk because they couldn't have a debate with him are cowards. And the world should not support cowards like those people. And that's why I was not happy about the fact that the Democratic Party turned it into politics when it was said that they should give a minute's silence, and they said, oh, what about the kids also killed? You could have given a minute's silence for both people.
Children also killed in a mass shooting.
Children also attacked in mass killing in Colorado. But I don't support most of the things. He said a lot of things I disagree with, but I will favor a debate any day rather than taking the cowardly route of shutting him down. Because I think it was Voltaire that said, I might disagree with what you're saying. It's fine. But I will die defending the right for you to say it. And that should be the norm in public discourse. Agreed. So whoever pulled out that bullet, they arrested 2 people originally and they've released them because they said they have no connection. But it says a 20-something-year-old that killed Charlie Kirk, that person is a coward, should be brought to book and should be made
footage actually
to
of
face
a suspect running from the roof. You can see it there. Has not been identified just yet.
And should be made to face what cowards face, because that person's a coward. And Charlie Kirk did no wrong by calling for open debates. In fact, his slogan will always be, prove me wrong. You don't like what he's saying, give him a good debate.
Improve your arguments.
Improve your arguments, about the strength of argument. I'll go to France quickly. President Tinubu was in France, a good one, good optics at least. In fact, just the other day I was about to ask that, where are the pictures from this working visit and all of that? And voila, President Tinubu went out there, went to France, was talking, photos with a man that is encumbered himself, has a lot of problem. France is currently having a protest called the Bloc 2. Everywhere is being blocked. You know, some people are saying it's a replica of the Gilets Jaunes protest, the Yellow Vest protest. In fact, some results are out yesterday from a poll conducted that Sébastien Lecornu will not last. He has one of the lowest popularity contests for a new prime minister. He might have to change him at some point. I don't know, maybe when he's put his bills forward, because the French constitution says the president deals with external affairs, but the prime minister deals with, domestic affairs. Yes. But it was a good showing for President Tinubu. And for President Mahama of Ghana, yeah, that's a good one. But also, in taking West Africans, which are our fellow brothers, so that they can onward, get, repatriated to their country, we shouldn't support collecting people from Trump when he deports them because of his level of high-handedness and, this obscene obsession with just trying to prove a point with migration. This is what I call what Trump is doing. But it was a good one. He has accepted. I think there's some Nigerians part of the fold.
Yes, definitely. They will put in a bus.
They'll put in a bus. They'll make their way back home at this point in time.
Thank you.
All right. Very sad story from the United States of America, and I love the BBC's headline on this particular story, that it lays bare America's bloody and broken politics. And unfortunately, in fact, under this administration, research finds that we've had more political violence than we've seen in previous years. Under the Trump administration, about 300 politically motivated violence has occurred. And, they often say violence begets violence. And it's just the way that political rhetoric has become so antagonistic, so violent, and it promotes sometimes actions like this. I'm not making any excuses for this. There's no excuse for it. But I'm just saying that there are underlying causes, not by Charlie Kirk himself, because like we've mentioned, Rufai, he always talked about dialogue, about debate. He had a huge following. A young man, 31 years old, going to be 32 in just shy of a month. A young family, wife and children, now deprived of a father and husband. But beyond that was that he'd always held on to his belief right from his young days in university. So this was a man with a conviction. I agree with him or not, but he had convictions. Part of those convictions was very right-wing, conservative, promoted conservative ideals. He had co-founded Turning Point USA, and that was part of, we would say, a significant push for young voters for Trump in the last elections. He had often talked about his a full support of the Trump administration. He was pro-gun, so he was anti-gun control. He was also anti-transgender, abortion. So some of the very key conservative ideas a lot of people supported him for. It's sad to see his life cut short in such a gruesome manner. And like you mentioned, the president used the opportunity to talk about the attack on his own life during his campaign trails and how. But, the big question for me then would be, how does America hope to solve this problem? Rufai, it was not just the Democrats that put a political spin to this. Trump himself put a political spin to this. And even in criticizing his speech post the killing of Charlie Kirk, he alluded to the fact that, only conservatives were attacked. In fact, the examples he made, the examples he gave, I'm
saying that's not true.
What he said, it wasn't true. He did say that, and that the examples he cited were conservatives attacked. He didn't mention Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats who had also been politically attacked in this. So I think as president, he has a critical role to play in this. He cannot absolve himself of responsibility totally. Yeah. I agree with the tenets of free speech, absolutely. But I do think that free speech comes with responsibility. And when you see reactions like this, you cannot say they're unconnected. Yeah. Whether it be from both parties, to be fair, conservatives or Democrats. I'm glad to see that both of them are united in their stance against gun violence and political violence, whether it be from Barack Obama, who had released a statement earlier on when the shooting happened, Joe Biden himself, and a few Democrats who had come out to speak against gun violence without putting any political spin to it. I think it's very important. The best legacy for Charlie Kirk would be for, number one, perhaps more responsibility by the politicians themselves in the way they speak, social media, especially as a tool for promoting political hate, and then also to find the killer or whoever, as Trump said, was funding these actions. I think that's very important as well. And then the legacy of free speech. I hope this will not kill it, but actually amplify the fact that people have a right to their opinion, to their beliefs and convictions, and have a right to speak out without the threat of being attacked for that very same thing. Now, for President Tinubu in France, I must say, if we put up that picture, that he looks really healthy. He looks very well. He looks very healthy. So it may be also in speaking to people who say that he went there for medical checkup or his health is failing. He looks really sprightly, with Macron. You can understand that visit. Apparently, it was Macron just saying, okay, since you're in France, it was not a business meeting. He is on vacation. It was a nice lunch between two people who have a shared history. Remember that Macron spent 6 months on internship at the American Embassy in Abuja. So he has very close ties and relationships with Nigeria. So this was just good optics, good to see two leaders come together and to say our president is good, though, he's well on holiday in France. We look forward to having him back after his 10-day holiday.
Okay, let me start with the Charlie Kirk case. Well, President Trump has described it as a dark moment in American history. And I think it is true. He's right in that regard, apart from his personal grief that he expressed on Truth Social, to the extent that it is horrific for anybody to kill another person. Agreed. So what we see in what happened at the Utah Valley University yesterday was a case of extremism and intolerance in the United States. It's also a case of the threat of gun violence. The same day that Charlie Kirk was killed, students were also killed as a result of gun violence in a school in Colorado. Correct, and to further prove the growing intolerance and extremism in the United States, when the matter came up and a Republican congresswoman said, don't let us just observe a minute silence. Let us read out a prayer in honor of Charlie Kirk. The Democrats in unison said no. That, okay, what about the people that also died in Colorado? In other words, showing you an American society that is divided. Now, that is why it will be proper to say that the American environment now is bloody, is broken, and they are going to go to elections, mayoral elections in New York on November 4. The fear is that with this growing level of violence in the United States, will not get worse. Now, who is Charlie Kirk? He founded Turning Point USA at the age of 18 and is known to be very close to President Trump and also to his family. And then, running that Turning Point USA, he became a major influencer, right-wing, ultra-conservative, saying that, look, we want fiscal federalism, we want this and that. But he has now established in colleges across America, about 850 colleges, a group of conservatives, extremists. And that is why he's not as popular with the Democrats. Now he was shot. Nobody should kill him. Now, at that occasion, it was in a courtyard. They said the killer came from the roof. 2 persons were arrested. They've been freed because they cannot establish ties. But I think this is another indication of how Trump has taken America, which is ultra-conservative, far-right, extremist politics, which I think is something that should be deplored, whether it is in Russia, or it is in Israel, or in any part of the world. So this stands condemned. The investigations are ongoing. We hope they will make progress with it. Now, as for Ghana, you know, the U.S. has been blackmailing African countries, and it's been succeeding. Rwanda says he's taking in people. Eswatini is taking people in under the third-party, you know, dumping, policy of dumping, colonial dumping, Victorian age dumping of you know, rejects from America. South Sudan is also part of it. Uganda, we don't know where Uganda stands, despite Foreign Minister Okello saying we will not accept criminals. The latest now is Ghana. Now, President Mahama has also been slammed with tariffs against Ghana. And now he says, we will take West Africans. Because in West Africa, there is freedom of movement under ECOWAS protocols. That's the justification he has given. They have collected 14 persons who came in, including Nigerians and Gambians. They were quick to name the Nigerians and identify that Gambians are involved. They have not mentioned how many of their own people that they have received in Ghana. And we object to that. Under the principle of transparency and accountability, the Ghanaian government has an obligation to tell us that, okay, this is the number of our own people that we received. However, I think that the Nigerian government should not be intimidated by President Trump. Our foreign minister made it very clear that Nigeria is not going to take rejects, whether they are from Venezuela or they are from any part of the world. And Nigeria should stand firm on that. This country cannot be a dumping ground for people that the United States claims it does not want. If there are our own children who, under the, what do they call it, this Deportation Act, I think we have an agreement with the US. That is different. But to turn us into a dumping ground, Nigeria should stand firm. As for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, yes, on Tuesday, I wrote a piece, back page of This Day, Our Man in France, where I was saying, look, President Tinubu cannot just go to France and UK, and we will not know what he's doing. In the spirit of transparency and accountability, let them tell us what he is doing. I think 2 days, one day after, you know, they've not now told us that, well, in France, at least he has done one thing. He's going to have lunch with President Macron. Well, we don't know what that lunch was all about. We hope he enjoyed it very much. And we've seen them holding hands. And we want to believe that, you know, this is diplomacy, promoting France-Nigerian relations.
Absolutely.
However, the big issue here is that, number one, I've said it before, I like to see President Tinubu wearing a suit. It looks very smart.
It looks very nice.
Because these are not Taylor Laurent suits. These are, you know, properly selected suits.
How do you know?
But I hope that the maker of this suit is from Aba. I hope he patronized Nigeria.
No, this is classic.
Dr. Batsi,
This is from the page.
Buy Nigeria to promote
this
the
is
Naira.
from the page of GQ. You know, it looks good. So I would like to see him, you know, wear suits more often. You know, he can mix it. He can be traditional today. He can wear suits tomorrow. Anyway, that's on the lighter side. However, the bigger issue in France is about this appointment of the new prime minister. Now, I was saying yesterday that President Macron, if he chooses an ultra conservative, a fiscal conservative, a centrist like himself, he will get the same result that he got with Michel Barnier and that he got with Francois Bayrou, because already the far left, the what do they call themselves, National Rally in the assembly, they have the majority, and they are saying that this is not going to fly. So Macron is stubborn. He wants to get his budget economic reform through, reducing tax for the wealthy, cutting welfare spending. The coalition of the far left and the far right is not going to make that happen. So he's going to get exactly the same result. But of course, you know, the new man, Lecru, is his favorite. He has been, the 39-year-old young man has been in politics since the age of 16. He ran the 2017 election campaign for Macron. So, you know, he wants somebody that he can trust. But can he succeed in winning consensus in parliament? I don't think he will succeed.
That is the question. Always a wonderful conversation during the World Brief. Let's take a look at our papers now. This day leads with the celebrations in the African Democratic Congress as the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, officially recognized the new leadership of the opposition ADC, led by former Senate President Senator David Mark as national chairman. Now, both this day's picture headline and the story above the masthead shows the Enugu State as the winners of the 100 million naira Model Green State Award for the state's early achievements in maintaining a clean and green environment. That's as First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu unveils the Renewed Hope Initiative Green Nigeria Challenge, which is a nationwide competition designed to promote tree planting and environmental cleanliness among households, youth groups, communities, and state governments. It offers a grand prize of 20 million naira for the best performing household, with additional rewards for exemplary communities and states. Don't know about you guys, but I will be trying to enter myself. I mean, right, 20 million naira. Very good. Okay, let's move on to the New Telegraph. The New Telegraph leads with INEC pledging to collaborate with the National Assembly and political stakeholders to amend the Electoral Act, which would grant the Commission the power to sanction defaulters. As we know, campaigning must begin no more than 150 days before an election, not any sooner, but we see that restriction being flouted with little to no punishment. That void is also the headline story on The Punch and the Daily Independent today, as electoral reforms, of course, are needed before the 2027 elections. There's still politics on the front of the vanguard as microzoning stirs tension within the PDP. To the leadership newspaper, it does lead with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu calling on the Federal Executive Council Committee to move swiftly and implement measures to further reduce food prices across the country. That's according to the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Sabu Abdullahi. Meanwhile, we have on the Daily Trust leading its coverage today with the EFCC questioning the former NNPCL boss, Mele Kyari, over this $7.2 billion refinery fund. Let's move on to international stories. The Washington Post reports on the Americans marking the 24th anniversary of 9/11 with ceremonies, volunteer work, and other tributes honoring the victims of the terror attack in 2001 when 2 planes crashed into the World Trade Center in New York. The Daily Mail reports on both the royal reunion, as it's called, as Prince Harry met with his father, King Charles, for the first time in 19 months. Despite Wednesday's meeting, though, there's been no signs of peace between Prince Harry and Prince William during this week, with both brothers carrying out separate arrangements to commemorate their grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, on her 3rd anniversary of her death. That was on Monday. Now, the Mail also reports on the growing pressure on the United Kingdom's ambassador to Washington to be fired. That's Lord Mandelson, following revelations of the extent of his friendship with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Those are your papers from around the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adifemi.
Yes.